All right, so this is called the AC method. And what that means is that we have three terms in these equations, okay? We have 3x squared minus x minus 2. So there are three terms. We have an A term, a B term, and a C term. So the A term, what's the coefficient there? Do you see it right here where my cursor is? Yeah, so see that 3? That's the coefficient of the A term. So therefore the A term is 3, okay? The C term is the last term, and that is a -2. So we're going to multiply those together, which gives us a -6 right here. And we're going to just break apart that -6 and see what are the factors of -6. So we know that we can get 6 by multiplying 1 and 6 together. And we can also get it by multiplying 2 and 3 together. Now, what we're looking for are two factors that we can multiply together to get whatever the middle term is, the B term. So if you look back on the other side, you see that the middle term is a -1. That one's no, because if we add 6 and 1 together, that's going to give us either a -5 or a +7. So if we add a -3 and a +2 together, that would give us a -1, which you can see right here. I've gone ahead and done that for us. Okay, so therefore this is the one that we're going to use, is this 2 and this 3. So the next step, step 5, is to rewrite this trinomial with that middle term separated into two factors. We're using this -3x and this +2x in place of the -1 that was originally there, okay? So we're rewriting this as 3x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 2. Now the reason why we did this is because now that it's broken apart, we can use grouping to factor it. Because if you'll remember, when we factor trinomials, we don't factor things that have a coefficient in front of the x squared. We're used to factoring things that just say x squared plus something minus something. So this is what's messing up the works. But if we break it into these factors in the middle, then we can take these 4 factors and we can factor them by grouping. So if you notice, I'm just breaking those first 2 into one little group, and the second group into the second 2 into another group. And I'm going to go through and factor out what's common in that first group. So it's 3x squared minus 3x. Well, we have a 3 in both of these terms, and we also have an x in both of these terms. So we can factor 3x out of this, out of these two terms. So when I take the 3x out, that leaves me with an x minus 1 in parentheses. Does that make sense? Okay. You finished your paper? Okay, good. All right. So the next one, what's the common factor in this parentheses? 2x minus 2. Well, is there an x in this one? Over here? It's just 2. So we're going to take the 2 out, and that's going to leave us with an x minus 1. Okay. All right. So now that we've factored out that 3x and this 2, you notice that this first term, because now it's in two terms, it's 3x times x minus 1 plus 2 times x minus 1. Well, what are the common factors between these two terms? Well, it's this whole thing. It's x minus 1. So that is a common factor. So we can factor that out and rewrite it right here. And then what's left over is 3x, and see my little plus sign right here, plus 2. 3x plus 2. So these are our two factors. That's your answer right there. All right. Yeah, definitely. And so I'm going to see if I can save this and send it to you. Okay, let's clear it. I'm going to clear the canvas, and let's do the next the next example problem. So 1093 is, sure. Okay, this is the next example, 109.3, page 460. Okay, so tell me, Garrett, what is the A term? Okay, so we're just going to pull out that coefficient, so that's going to be 5, and then we're multiplying it by the C term, so what's that? Right. The sign, right. So now we need to see what are the factors of 30. So we've got 15 and 2, we've got 30 and 1, we've got 5 and 6. Okay, which of these would, if we added them together, would give us a negative 13? Okay, so we're going to use this one. So that's going to be, we're going to rewrite the whole thing, 5x squared, and then is the 15 going to be negative or the 2 going to be negative? Okay, so minus 15x plus 2x, and then that original negative 6 goes down at the end. All right, now we're going to split this into two groups. Sorry. Undo that little part. All right. So what can we factor out of the first group? I'm sorry, Garrett, I didn't hear you. What can we factor out of the first group? Right. So what is that going to leave? Yes. So we factor out 5x, and that will leave x minus 3. Good. And of note, you see this plus sign right here? If this was a negative, we would have to distribute it to each of the terms. Okay, but since it's positive, it doesn't make a difference here. Okay, what can we take out of these? All right, so we're going to take out a 2. So that will leave us x. Good. All right, so what do both of these terms have in common? That's right. So x minus 3 will be one factor. And then what's left over is the second factor. You are a factoring genius. Okay, let's do the practice problems. All right. I'll do the first one with you, and then you can do B on your own. So now, what do you notice about this A? What do we have to do before you can actually start working it? No? No? You have to rearrange it so that x squared, they're in descending order. So we're going to rewrite this as 2x squared minus 11x. Okay, what's the A term? Okay, so what are we going to take out of that? 2, right. Just the 2, yeah. And then what's the C term? That's right. All right, and that's going to equal negative 42. Okay, what are the factors of 42? (21 and 2). 7 and 6. 'I'm going to do a factor tree. Um, 73 is 21 and 2. 6 and 7. Yeah, I think so. 7. None of those equal 11. (14 and 3), yes. That's what, yeah. Okay, that works. Okay. Then that would break down into 2x squared minus what? Yeah, you put the x's back in. You do this just to figure out what the two factors are, but then you have to keep the x's because what you've done is you've broken this 11x into two terms that equal 11x when you add them together. All right. All right, so you ready to group? Okay, group, 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 group. What are we going to take out of the first term? Good. So that'll leave x minus 7. And then what about the second one? Which would also be 3 minus 7. Okay, what is common in this term and this term? Okay, And then we have 2x plus 3 left over as the other factor. All right, I'm going to save this. Why don't you go ahead and do B on your own? Brant. Yeah. Oh, you don't go to work on Tuesdays, do you? What? I just realized it was time for you to be at work, and then I forgot that you don't work on Tuesdays.
Somebody's here. Tally's Susan's check.
Oh, put it on her bed, honey. Who's that? That was Mr. Van.
Susan? Jack?
Okay, where are you stuck?
Wow, $480.
$480, yep, that's right.
Right, yes. No, if you, oh. But if you used, you wouldn't be able to use, it needs to be something that also equals a -2 though, right? Here. So if you use 2 and 3, if you use a -2, then you'd have a +1 if you added it together. If you use a -3, then you'd have a -1. So that won't work. Even though 2 plus 3 does equal a +5, you have to also be able to get a -2 when you multiply them. So yes. I mean, you have to be able to get, not a -2, you have to be able to get a -6 is what I meant. So, so 6 and 1 would work with a +6 and a -1, right?
That's hard. That's hard. Yes.
Right. And this is where you have to be careful, because here, this is going to be a -x plus 2. So when you factor this one, you're going to be factoring out that negative. That -1, I mean. Then you factor out the x plus 2. Because that's the same for both, right? 3. Okay. So then that's going to be x plus 2. And then what's left over is 3x minus 1. Because that 1's understood right there, right? Yes, they do. Because, see right here, it looks like it's just x minus 2, but that minus distributes to both. So if we were to write that out, it would be negative x plus 2. And then, parentheses, so this is a negative 1 here. Yes. Yes. And they could go in either order. Like that, this could be the, you know. All right, does that make sense? All right. Why don't you try number 7 in the lesson and see how you do. I don't have it in cash, I told you. So I will take you.
How about this? How about me and
I'll take you. All right. So you've got 3x squared minus 15x plus x minus 5. Okay, so do you see where you would pull out the 3x from the 3x squared minus 15x? And then here, it's already factored. So you would just say x minus 5 and x minus 5 can be pulled out of both of these terms. X minus 5. And then what's left? Yes. Okay. Well, go ahead and do 8. Remember to rearrange that one. Okay. Check it on the screen. Awesome. All right, you ready to move on to the next lesson? All right. Okay, hold on just a second.